Today, at the F1 in Schools World Finals, Sonic Boom and Helios Racing win knockouts. Track issues continue, and Hydron gets the fastest lap, but it doesn't count. All this and more on today's episode of Trackside by Off the Track. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Trackside by Off the Track. And today we're looking at day 3, which was the knockout racing of the F1 in Schools 2022 World Finals. My name is Michael, or what did Tom say they should call me on the live stream? Mickey? Michael? Mickey? I can't remember. Insert alternative name for Michael here, because there's a Michael who works at HQ as well. But anyway, I was part of Precision Racing and Infinitude, and today, as always, is joining me Zhao, and you were part of Hydra from Brazil.
Yes, Brazil and Mexico, 2019 World
Brazil
Finals
and Mexico, I do apologize. So, today, the knockouts, Zhao, I would say they were fairly competitive. As knockouts go. Obviously, congratulations to Helios and Sonic Boom, both of which were winners in their respective divisions. Helios winning the virtual knockouts and Sonic Boom winning the in-person, the physical knockout event. And so, I think. Right up. Let's get the elephant out of the room. Eclipse held the fastest time. I think they still hold the fastest time on the leaderboard, but they got knocked out in the first round, and then also subsequently lost the overall fastest time. Though the fastest time in knockouts doesn't count towards the leaderboard. Hydron managed to run a 1.026, beating them by 0.02 of a second. So, Zhao, are we surprised by Eclipse getting knocked out so early?
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising. It's not something that you often see in F1 schools. But if you take a look at this in the details, you can see that Eclipse has suffered off one performance penalty in each of their cars. So, isn't a fair field to compete with people that haven't had any penalties. So is a downside of having your car outside of the rules. So yes, adding 1/10 of a second to each race time is is a lot. So this help a lot to make them not go to the quarterfinals. So yeah,
Absolutely. And when you look at Eclipse, one of their cars, I believe, had 2 performance penalties on it.
yes,
Yeah. So immediately
yes,
that one is just out of competition. There's no way you can come back from that. And really having a performance penalty once you get to the semi-finals is almost a guaranteed loss unless the other team you're facing has a performance penalty, which is unlikely by that point. And so I think we really see the effect of performance penalties there on knockouts, and that's where they really come into effect. And you know, in the usual competition, when knockouts was worth points, it was worth 30 points if you won, correct?
yes,
So
yes, correct.
I think we agreed that it wasn't the biggest issue if you didn't win knockouts.
Well,
You know,
yeah, even though it isn't like you win, you get 30 points, and you lose, you get 0. It was like a stair. So the first place got 30, the second one got I don't remember right now, but like 24, 26. So yeah, even if you just got into knockouts, you get some points.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big deal.
and so look, if you want to win the World Finals and knockouts are being offered for points, and there's another team hot in your tail in every other area, knockouts could be the difference between you winning and you losing. And I'm a big believer in having fully legal cars. Precision Racing's car was legal. Infinitude's was not. But Jesse and Luke had very good reasons for it being illegal, and that's why it was so fast. But But as soon as you start getting performance penalties, I don't see the point. I don't know, Zhao, could you see a point to deliberately breaking a performance reg?
No, I think it's like for myself, I have a vision very similar to
Mm.
yours because I think it's very important to secure those sort of easy points in the scrutineering. Is a more than 100 points that you can grab if you have a perfect car, if you design it well. So it's a way that you can eventually in this competition that many cars have performance regulations or other regulation, general safety. I don't know, is a way that you can try to at least win an award, the scrutiny award,
Mm.
and you can show the consistency. Like as we said, if you have a good car, a car that follow the rules, this affect your knockout performance. This affect your scrutiny judging. This affect your engineering judging because you have a car that apply to the rules and you try to make the best design with testing to apply to the rules. So I think show your commitment to the competition. Not in building a car that is legal, fully legal. It shows that okay, I have this problem. I am going to find a solution. The easiest way was going to break the rules, yes, but how I can get the same performance without breaking the rules, and this is something that can add to you in other areas, not just scrutineering, not just knockouts.
It goes to multiple aspects of the competition. Project management, I think, is one of the biggest areas that kind of thing can go to. It is a risk that needs to be managed. Your car not being compliant, and I think it presents a great challenge and a great learning opportunity for students in the F1 in Schools Challenge to make their cars legal and to get familiar with designing within a set of rules, because as an engineer you'll be designing to standards and you'll be designing within specifications, and you need to be able to work with that. And in real life, if you're not able to work within those specifications, people could get hurt. So yeah, just continuing on the Hydron and Eclipse theme. There was a number of issues with I believe it was their first race, where we had some DNSs, some DNFs that did not start and did not finish issues. So the tracks today that were the gates were messing up again, weren't they, Joe?
Yes, they are going back to the state that they were, and they won. So yes, at least it wasn't that consistent. We have one race, the Eclipse Hydron, and then a little bit else, more further in knockouts. But things start to cool down after those problems. But it's something that, as we talk in day one, isn't great. It's a little bit annoying to be there and see your car running, maybe doing a good time, and after all, wasn't a good time. It wasn't recorded, so you need to go again, and then go again. So yeah, it builds up the
And
tension.
it builds up wear and tear on the car as well.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Tom from Eclipse after the event, and he is saying that it was actually getting quite warm in the building again today, and so that could be a reason why we had so many issues. Lane 2 in particular seems to be rather sensitive. I'm not sure why, but I think that's something that HQ will certainly be looking into ahead of the next World Finals. And so to jump back to Sonic Boom, Peter pointed out to us that it's the first time since 2015, so when I competed in F1 in school as a whole, oh gosh, 7 years ago, that the team that was seeded first in knockouts actually won, because Sonic Boom was seeded first for knockouts and they won knockouts. And that hasn't happened in 7 years. And so I think that speaks a lot to the engineering that was put into Sonic Boom's car. What do you think?
And I will say, the engineering was great, but the reactions of Sonic Boom was consistently low,
Yeah,
like 1.3s, 1.5s,
yeah.
consistently. So I
Florian
think that is
was
very good.
Florian was on the money with the reactions today.
Yeah. And I wasn't the driver of my team, but I would say like in the prior years when you are doing reaction day one, reaction day two. When the knockouts arrive, you already know the deal. You
Mm.
already know how the button works. But this year is the first time that many of those people are going to press a button because we had 2 years of online competition.
Mm.
So yeah, you can see with all those tension, all the tension, all the pressure, Blackout could perform. And as you said, I remember that in Horizon's year, almost Horizon was seed one as well,
Mm.
and they lost in the finals because the other team, I cannot remember the name. I think it was German. I might be mistaken. They had an amazing reaction and they beat on the reaction. So yeah. But Sonic Boom this year the Portuguese cannot make the same thing. So yeah, Sonic Boom got after all this year the prize of knockouts
Yeah.
as being seed one.
And we were speaking to Sonic Boom prior to the World Finals about their car, and they had some really interesting discoveries and some really interesting engineering behind their car that I think is really valuable to share. So we're gonna listen to an interview we had with them, and then Jara and I will have a quick chat about it. So without further ado, take it away, Florian.
Yeah, right. So, as explained earlier, we had a very complex development process, as we had the time and yeah, focus on every single aspect for a good performance of the car, and the wheel system was one of the first things we tested, and yeah, really thought of what would yeah, reduce the energy, uh, and thought of when analyzing these high-speed video footage, we found out that the car, yeah, just hops over the bumps of the racetrack, and we thought of a way we could absorb this energy, but in the end it was very heavy, very complex, and yeah, at least there was no improvement as the energy is absorbed in a way, yeah. So we sought this concept also out, yeah. Yeah, one theoretical idea we thought of was the streamlined body itself. Before doing CFD and all the prototypes, shape prototypes, we did some research and found out that the drop shape itself has not the best drag coefficient of the world. I think we are one of the first teams who focused on the penguin shape, which has a lower drag coefficient and therefore better shape, and try to implement it wherever it was possible. For the air channel below the car, the general air cartridge chamber shape, and this concept proved really to have a good impact on the car's performance, at least in the virtual simulations. But I think we are one of the first teams who really focused on this penguin shape. And CFD was also a crucial part of our development process. When we finalized our car components and did the final setup for all the tetherline guides, wheel systems, we focused on the different concepts you could design it for an F1 schools car, and did 5 radically different prototypes, which we tested then against each other on the track, and then decided to optimize the 2 best in CFD. And this was the phase in the development process where we really focused on optimizing the 2 cars to its maximum, and that's where we used CFD. We used ANSYS Fluent with pretty high accuracy, did some study and had some meetings with the local ANSYS partners, and yeah, had really pretty accurate results. Was pretty amazing to see, and as Ennis said before, we found out there's a kind of a new idea to think of as we focus on the low pressure areas. The main idea is to keep them as low as possible, and all the F1 schools car has to have those big low pressure areas behind the front wheels, and the rules prohibit any action to build any volume in this exclusion zones. So we came up with the idea to use those low pressure areas as, or to treat them as solid bodies, as they form kind of a solid shape after a while. We could adapt our car shape to interact with this low pressure area and reduce the drag force immensely.
The basic idea, if you look at old cars, for example, before we had these exclusion zones and the technical regulations, so for example the cold fusion car, if you have it in mind, it would use all the bodywork, as much bodywork as possible, to lead the air around the car. So now that we have these exclusion zones, we have to deal with the problem. Do we try to how do we guide the air in the most efficient way around the car? So there would be either the option to try to find the aerodynamically optimal shape of the side pod, for example, and hope that with the side pod you would lead the air around the car. But what we actually found out is that if you take a less aerodynamically optimized shape of the side pod, which would have like a hard edge at the exclusion zone, that would be actually more efficient to guide the air around the car, as these exclusion zones, these empty exclusion zones, would in CFD behave like a body. So that's the basic idea behind that.
And so there's three big things that Sonic Boom talked about there. They looked at an active suspension system, which is much like what you'd have on a regular road car or an F1 car. They talked about their CFD testing and how they looked at other shapes other than the typical drop shape, which is a large circular shape at the beginning, and it tapers off to a point at the end, whereas we'll put a picture of the penguin drop shape on the screen for you now, and for those listening on the audio version of the podcast, we'll put a link in the show notes to that. And then the third big thing they talked about was something that when I heard about it, it amazed me that they had found this, and it was the low pressure areas that they're treating as body work. And so let's start with the active suspension. The reason they said they didn't go with it is that it absorbed too much energy, and that makes sense. Springs themselves are resistive to being compressed, and so they're really good to smooth out bumps in a car when you're concerned about jarring the passengers and shaking the car apart, and making that ride smooth. But in F1 schools, the amount of energy taken up by the compression of that spring is greater than that of the car bouncing off those bumps, I think, is what Sonic Boom found in their testing. So what do you think of that, Zhao?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Like some like crazy ideas that some engineers have while doing F1 schools, and they actually try to test it, try to understand how it would affect the car. I remember my team was like doing a brainstorm of like some ideas. So you can do this, you can do that, and active suspension in F1 schools. You say, how can you possibly do this? And they manage a way. They found it that it wasn't going to be that useful, but they research about it, and this adds value to their actual car, even though the suspension isn't the car, because it's all the thought process behind it.
And they've done so much testing. I know Eclipse said they've done over 1,000 hours of testing. I didn't get a figure out of Sonic Boom, but I would imagine it's very similar to that. And so the second thing they talked about was the penguin shape for aerodynamics. And I think that's a real departure from the classical wisdom in F1 in schools, that the usual teardrop shape of like an airplane wing or something like that is the most aerodynamic shape, and that's what we should be aiming for. And so that kind of research into those aerodynamics I find very interesting, but I don't think it's the most interesting. I don't think it's super noteworthy compared to the third item that they spoke about, which was the low pressure areas used as bodywork. So the cold fusion car, which was the world champions car from 2012, which I realize people may not be familiar with, so I'll put an image on the screen and a link in the show notes. That car had bodywork that went all the way up to the wheels, and in fact it went a little bit around the wheels on the top and the bottom, to really keep a smooth laminar flow from the wheels, and to try and keep the air from being disturbed. 2014 came around, or I believe it's 2013, 2014 came around, and exclusion zones were added behind those wheels, which made designs like that infeasible. And what Sonic Boom has done is, using aerodynamics, they've gotten around that. They've managed to find a way to use that exclusion zone the same way Cold Fusion did. And I think that kind of research is absolutely astounding. And I think it shows the amazing talent that Sonic Boom has. Zhao?
So yeah, I think it's pretty great what they are doing. Like, they get a project that they have a problem. They want to try to solve that problem. You can say, like we were talking at the beginning of the podcast, you can try to bend the rules, break some rules to manage that problem. But what they did was try to understand the problem. They put work on it. They put thought, and they had a problem that could easily be solved by ignoring the exclusion zones, making the car illegal. But what they did was seeing the problem and solving it in the other way, a legal way. So yeah, that's very cool.
And I think it's the best thing since sliced bread, to be honest, in terms of research in F1 in schools. I think it's the most wow thing I've seen at this competition, and we barely scratched the surface on the kind of stuff that Sonic Boom has achieved. I was astounded by a lot of the stuff that they had done, and it may just be that they're very thorough. They are a very thorough team, and I seem to recall that Eclipse has done similar things as well, and I'm sure that other teams of similar caliber at the World Finals have done very similar things. But if you're sitting here listening to this episode and saying, "Wow, I'd never thought about that," or "Wow, that's a really great idea," I think you need to think, how can I learn from this? How can I incorporate this into my car design? Zhao, do you have anything more to add on this whole episode?
Yeah, I think like we are seeing, like, we all watched the first episode. We have Eclipse, we have Blackout on the second day, we have Sonic Boom, and we have many other teams throughout the competition that are making the competition go into another level.
Yeah.
Like, you have more professional teams, more testing, and it's so amazing because all of this push the pack up. So you can see a midfield team right now will probably be a runner-up to winner in 3 years ago, I would say. So this is very good. So everyone is pushing themselves to be best, be the best, be better at what they are doing, and this is what F1 schools is for, to make people challenge themselves. So yeah, I think it's very great and I'm very happy to see this.
I think today's knockouts has been a great experience, even if no one scored any points in it. And you know what? I'm looking forward to what for the listeners will be today, the award ceremony, for currently us tomorrow. So day 4, I'm looking forward to seeing the awards and to seeing who will be crowned F1 in Schools world champions for 2022.
I'm very excited to that. And not only the world champion, I want to see who got the best engineer, the best pit display, because this one thing that I can say about today, that I'm sad that we didn't have the classical pit walk. It was a time that I enjoy watching. My world final, I love doing it, and it's a thing that helps the other teams. So you can stay from one afternoon watching the live stream, seeing, oh, this pit display, that's this idea, take a note, so you can build your own pit display. So I think it's obviously because of the circumstances, because of the online attendance wasn't possible, but I hope that in next World Finals, we will have fully presential, fully on-site attendance, and the pit displays on site, so we can see it again, because it's really an experience. So
It is. It really is. And I think the Infinitude pit walk was actually rather humorous. If I can try to trumpet that a bit, it was very humorous. But yes, that's it from us for today on day 3. I wish all of the teams good luck at the award ceremony. Ben and I will be, and Xiao, I believe you'll probably be on the live stream with us as well.
Yeah.
So we'll be live streaming alongside the awards if you're interested. And make sure you follow us on Instagram, because we will be posting the awards as they come within seconds of them being announced. So yeah, thank you very much, Xiao, for being on the episode today. And
it's my pleasure.
And thank you to Sonic Boom for speaking to us earlier in the week. So yes, and thank you, dear listener, for taking the time to listen to us. Good luck to all the competitors, and good day.